Hi everyone, I'm going to continue the series of the great Sephardi Rabbanim, and it's going to be actually the 10-year Yartzeit Hilula since Rabbi Chacham Ovadia Yosef passed away back in the year 2013. It was actually October the 7th. I remember that day specifically. I actually went to his funeral in Yerushalayim. Here from Bet Shemesh I travelled, and it was actually had the largest funeral in Israeli history. Reported up to 850,000 people actually came to the funeral, and there was actually 200,000 people outside the city gates that couldn't come in. That's how busy it was. Close to 1 million people, and in fact, the funeral was, I believe, on the same day as he passed away. He passed away in the late morning, I believe it was, or early afternoon, and come on, in the evening, the funeral actually proceeded. It was in Yerushalayim, near the Porat Yosef, Yeshiva Porat Yosef, the famous Sephardi Yeshiva in Jerusalem. I've got over here a special edition, a stamp collection, stamp edition the post office actually did on the great rabbi. You can see a picture of the great rabbi learning Torah over here. This was while I believe he was a chief rabbi, and this was while he was younger. He was a rabbi all over the world. He actually was also a rabbi in Egypt, and special edition stamps over here, which obviously a very collector's rare but very momentous edition over here, which I'm gonna obviously keep. I bought it nearly 10 years ago, and obviously keep it in a safe place. A special commemorative edition with regards to Chacham Ovadia Yosef. It's going to be his 10th year Yartzeit this week on, I believe it was the 3rd of Cheshvan, his Hebrew date, and he actually was a chief rabbi of Israel, the Sephardi Chief Rabbi of Israel, between the years 1973 to 1983. So 40 years ago precisely, he ended his tenure as the official Sephardi Chief Rabbi of Israel. He was a great rabbi, and at a young age it became apparent his incredible Torah skills. His name of birth was Abdullah Yosef. Yosef being his second name, but later on he merged that into his family name. And Abdullah is actually in Arabic, I believe, the word Ovad, the name Ovadia. We actually did a video on Chacham Abdallah Somech a while ago, and his name, he was actually named after Rabbi Abdallah Somech. Hence his name was Ovadia, obviously the Hebrew equivalent of it. And he was born in Iraq, and at a very young age moved with his family to Jerusalem, and he became apparent he was great at Torah learning at a very young age. He learned in the Talmud Torah, the Bnei Zion Talmud Torah, which was actually in the Bukharian quarter in Yerushalayim, and we saw the greatness at a stage in his early childhood. His family it was tough. They weren't that wealthy, so they thought that they might need him to work inside the grocery store at the time. But it was phenomenal potential, and was learning the whole time. So the Rosh Yeshiva Porat Yosef at the time came in on I believe on the first day when Rabbi Ovadia came to help inside the grocers, and said, I'm going to work instead of Rabbi Ovadia. And so the father said, no, you can't work here. You're the Rosh Yeshiva Porat Yosef. He said to Rav Ezra Atiyah. So automatically the father said, no, come outside. You're going to learn full time. And oh boy, he did learn full time. He became one of the great rabbis at the time. It's actually interesting. He got married at a relatively young age. And he got actually his rabbinic ordination when he was just at the young age of 20. And he became, his class in Porat Yosef featured the great Rabbi Ben Zion Abba Shaul also, and Baruch Ben Chaim also, and Chacham Yehuda Moalam, who I did a video on also, and Chacham Tzion Levi. So it was an all-star class in the Yeshiva Porat Yosef as he was in his younger years. And later on he went to Egypt. I believe it was in the year 1947. And he served as a rabbi there under the request of Rabbi Ben Zion Meir Hai Uziel, who was actually the head of the Cairo Bet Din at the time, the Jewish rabbinic quarter. Then returned to Israel and started learning in Midrash Bnei Zion again, which was then headed by Rabbi Tzvi Pesach Frank. And he actually served in Petach Tikva inside the rabbinical court. And he was a judge also at the age of 30. He wrote different halachic rulings at that point in time. And it was actually in the year 1951 to 1952 he published his first halachic sefer called the Chazon Ovadia, which was the laws on Pesach, Passover, one of the Shalosh Regalim also. It's actually had a huge amount of praise, including from the chief rabbi at the time, and also from Rabbi Yitzchak Halevi Herzog also. Later on, he founded the Yeshivat, or Torah Yeshiva, which was for very, very talented Sephardic students in Israel, it was. And he published first 2 of his volumes in 1953 to 1956 of the colossal work, the Yabia Omer also, which also very much learned in modern day. It's nearly in all the, especially Sephardi Beit Midrashim, and also in the Beit Knesset of many of the Ashkenazi shuls also. And between 1958 to 1965, he actually served as a Dayan in the Jerusalem Bet Din court also. He was also in the Supreme Rabbinic Court also. He became the Sephardic Chief Rabbi of Tel Aviv in 1968, and later on, 5 years later, as I related over, he actually went on to become the Chief Rabbi, Sephardi Chief Rabbi of Israel, the Rishon LeZion, as they call him, which was a very, very huge position at the time. He actually entered politics also just after his tenure as a Chief Rabbi, Sephardi Chief Rabbi. In 1984, he started off the Shas Party, which now currently, I believe, boasts about 10 seats in the Knesset, very, very powerful, very influential. So he saw there was a lot of discrimination at the time against the Sephardi, especially possibly among the religious community, also out in the general society also, and started this party and gave a voice for the Sephardim and started many, many schools, hundreds and hundreds of schools, even in nowadays, have been established thanks to Rabbi Ovadia Yosef with this school system, thanks to the Shas Party also. It was actually his wife name was Rabbanit Margalit Fatal, who actually passed away in the year 1994, many years ago, nearly 30 years ago now, and was born in 1927, and was a daughter of Rabbi Abraham Alevi Fatal also. He left, I believe it was 8, he left many children at the end, and I believe they had as many as 11 children. It was, including Rabbi Yaakov Yosef, who passed away back in the year 2013. Also, who I did a video on, Rabbi Avraham Yosef. Also, he was the chief rabbi of Cholon. Rabbi Yitzchak Yosef, who is the current Rishon LeZion of the Sephardi chief rabbi of Israel. Also Rabbi David Yosef, and many other great. Also, his daughter Rabbanit Adina Bar Shalom actually came on, being very prosperous. Also, within regards to Israeli politics in recent times. He actually lived in Har Nof and had the Bet Knesset, had a massive Bet Knesset in Har Nof also, which actually I did a video not so long ago called the Yechevei Dat was the name of the Bet Knesset, huge one. Still today there was a kollel. There's many kollels there. There's services. I think Rav David Yosef has his misrat, his office also over there. Many other things. I'll try and go on a bit within regards to his books and everything else. He was an advocate within regards to Sephardic rights and everything else. He welcomed with open arms the Ethiopian Jews in the community. He said they had the Jewish status at the time, which was contested by other parts of Haredi Jewry at the time, which I recommend everyone to look into that also, into that topic also. Let's talk a little bit more about his books at that time. One thing I would also add within regards to Chacham Ovadia Yosef, he was also, he didn't have there's an Ashkenazic Haredi approach within regards to saying Hallel on Yom Ha'atzmaut, and the religious Zionist approach where people do say Hallel on Yom Ha'atzmaut. He took a more middle of the road approach within regards to that, which I would recommend everyone to read on about. He says that we are, the religious Jews, the ultimate Zionists also, Chacham Ovadia said. He very much prided himself on that, because we daven every day for us to return to Zion and everything else. So he was very, very much passionate, and he was in the news a lot. He traveled around the worldwide, gave probably tens of thousands of lectures all throughout his life. So I want to give a bit with regards to, he had massive government influence also. Many of the great politicians, the prime ministers, also approached him and asked him for advice. He made key decisions also throughout his career also. There's many stories, hundreds, thousands of stories you can read about him online also. So I'll just say a bit within regards to some of his published works also, which I talked about just before. I'll just name a few of them, including, at the moment, some of them was, as I stated before, he actually wrote the Chazon Ovadia, which was also based on the Pesach, the laws of Pesach. He wrote colossal works also within regards to the Pirkei Avot. Also, a commentary on that. The title was Anaf Etz Avot and the Me'or Yisrael also. And he also, naturally, the Yalkut Yosef was actually compiled by Chacham Yitzchak Yosef, the current Chief Rabbi, on many of his writings also. And Rabbi Ovadia Yosef actually compiled Sidurim within regards to many of Chacham Ovadia Yosef's teachings, which he taught throughout his life. And many other books was also compiled from Rabbi Ovadia Yosef, different responsa, tens of thousands of hours of lectures online. And it's his Hilula. Everyone, I urge everyone, light candles on the 3rd of Cheshvan here on his Hilula. Do Kiddushim on Shabbat, whatever it might be. Sponsor things online. There's hundreds, thousands of institutions all across the world in Chacham Ovadia's advice, in his zechut, in his leadership, and that's what we should be doing, especially many of the Sephardim out there. We're all internationally. There's we're like nearly 500,000, 1 million people. We should be making classes with regards to his teachings. We shouldn't just sit there on the fence and not do things. We should do things now, especially with the current crisis here in Israel, the current state situation, a very bad situation. We've had a nightmare, horrendous week and a half, last week and a half, with the events of Simchat Torah. At the moment, we should teach his teachings in all the synagogues. We should go out there, teach, we should learn, we should listen to the shiurim online. There's no excuses for any of us. We've got MP3 player, we've got radios, we've got discs, we can listen to it very easily and encourage other people also. And he's got tens of thousands of hours worth of classes online. Buy his books and the many books he's got, and read about him, read his biographies. There's many ones. I think Rabbi Yehuda Azulay actually compiled a book in recent years with regards to a biography about him. I recommend everyone to do that. Chacham Ovadia Yosef, his Hilula, 10th year Hilula. It's going to be this week on the 3rd of Cheshvan. Wishing you all, please watch the previous videos also. This, I think, the 4th video I've done on Chacham Ovadia Yosef, and nearly about 100 videos on the great Sephardi Rabbanim. So have a great day, and